For the longest time, animal-like characters have been pretty prominent throughout the anime industry. Cat girls, dog girls, fox girls, bird girls, snake girls, spider girls, and moth girls. Wait, hold up! Moth girls? Who asked for this? There can't be many other insect girls, can there? Oh, Jesus Christ, what the hell, Japan?! With how popular these characters have become over the years, it was only a matter of time until someone had the idea to bring anthropomorphic animals into the mix. And in 2019, the world was caught by surprise with an anime called Beastars, created by Studio Orange. While a lot of people refused to watch it due to the fact that it was heavily memed as horny Zootopia, it turned out to be a super gripping story with incredibly deep characters, thought-provoking social commentary, and brilliant action sequences. And after the wild success of Beastars, anime studios begun to see the potential in creating shows of anthropomorphic animals. And thus, we enter Oddtaxi, created by studios OLM and Pix. Oddtaxi was announced on February 20th, 2021 during the Crunchyroll Anime Awards with one of the most surreal trailers I've ever seen. This felt like a straight acid trip and didn't give us many hints as to what the show was going to be about, which led to everyone thinking,
what is this? Is this like a Gretzko?
While it was incredibly cool, it didn't really pique my interest too much, as after this, the marketing for it wasn't too strong. However, that all changed when the spring 2021 season came around and it finally started airing. This show is incredibly underrated and is not getting talked about as much as it should be. And that's why today, I'm here to talk about why you should be watching Oddtaxi. Let's get right into it. So, what's the story of Oddtaxi? We follow Otokawa, an eccentric taxi driver trying to live a relatively quiet life as he battles with an unknown mental health issue. However, when a high school student suddenly goes missing, his life turns upside down as he becomes the prime suspect in the crime. As Otokawa tries to figure out why the police suspect him, he finds himself getting roped into the underworld of Tokyo, where the case turns out to be a lot bigger than he imagined. And now guys, I know what you're probably thinking. This seems like a pretty standard mystery story, Jook. What makes this one so unique? The first episode alone is enough to answer that question. The opening scenes of Oddtaxi immediately hook you in, going from watching a body bag slowly fall into the depths of the ocean to watching Otokawa drive around Tokyo sets the tone of the show beautifully. Tokyo looks to be bright and colorful, however we see all of the characters in depressing and shady situations. The world feels extremely cold and mysterious, and it gets expanded thoroughly through the storytelling. Oddtaxi tells its story through multiple characters, switching between them as they battle with their own conflicts. Typically when shows use this style of storytelling, it can be a bit all over the place and can ruin the overall pacing. However, in Oddtaxi, this is not the case at all. Each storyline is often told through pairs. For example, Kakihara and Shiho are paired to tell a story of romance, Shibagaki and Baba are a pair of comedians showing the story of trying to make it big in Tokyo, and Otokawa is paired with Dobu as they become partners in crime to find out what happened to the missing high school girl. What I love about this way of storytelling is that these stories not only have their own morals and character development, but they give us a look into each part of the world. From the criminal underworld of Tokyo, to the corrupted idol industry, to the unforgiving entertainment industry, to even the depressing life of a dude in his 40s just trying to get laid. The world of Oddtaxi feels so alive for the way it presents the story, and it's something that'll keep you hooked throughout the entire series. When a show has a large cast of characters, it can be pretty difficult to distribute development and screen time in order to flesh them out. However, with Oddtaxi, one of the greatest elements with its cast is that while we're shown everyone's distinct personalities and conflicts, there's a heavy sense of mystery with some characters regarding their goals that keeps you heavily invested. Otokawa is undoubtedly our main protagonist in the series, and while we spend most of the time following his journey, we never get to see a look into his mind. Any clues regarding what happened to Otokawa in his past and the secrets that he hides are talked about through other characters rather than himself. This is something that I feel is pretty unique to Oddtaxi, and it's something that I absolutely adore. Character development is always shown and never told, and this always keeps the mystery element exciting. This isn't just unique to Otokawa either. All the characters that are a part of the underworld follow the same development. We know their personalities and their conflicts, but what they're aiming for is ever changing, which keeps you guessing in what their true goals are. If you haven't noticed already, already, Oddtaxi is a pretty serious show, portraying a dark story with a lot of corrupted characters. However, there are plenty of lighter moments throughout the series, bringing out the goofier sides in the characters that are always an absolute treat to watch. When you watch these characters banter with one another, it feels incredibly realistic. Listening to Shirakawa trying to joke with Otokawa, Kakihara drowning his sorrows into his millionth beer while scrolling through Tinder, and watching Otokawa interact with all the people he drives around in his taxi. Compare this with your typical comedy anime where it's all, ha ha ha, look guys, he fell in the girl's opie! Hey guys, look, he said the word penis! No laugh. These characters and situations all feel so believable and realistic, and this is what makes Oddtaxi's characters feel so unique. Add in all of their individual conflicts and goals and you have some seriously fleshed out characters that really makes watching the series feel worthwhile. While an anime can have a beautiful art style and an interesting world, one of the most integral parts of my immersion into a show is the dialogue and voice acting. It's the major factor in bringing all of our favorite characters to life, with such amazing performances giving us some of the most memorable moments in anime history. And while one of the reasons I adore anime is from all the crazy performances and hype moments they create, it was an absolute breath of fresh air coming into Oddtaxi and hearing how unique the dialogue is between characters. I feel typically in a lot of anime, characters usually sound pretty exaggerated depending on the base personality traits that they have. From bubbly and loud, to held back and quiet, to extremely angry and pissed off, to ara ara. These are all exaggerated performances to fit along with the character. However, in Oddtaxi, both the dialogue and performances feel natural and grounded. During the lighter moments in the series, the banter that gets thrown around is pretty unique. When Goriki tries to have small talk with Otokawa during his checkup, they ramble on about Rakugo, cassette players, music artists such as Stevie Wonder and Bruce Springsteen, all of this while Shirakawa sits in confusion. The things that these two bond over are such obscure topics for today's standards, but it emphasizes the fact that they're two old friends, especially with how well the two bounce off one another. When it comes to the darker scenes involving Otokawa and Dobu, however, the tone completely flips and they always keep me on the edge of my seat. This is thanks to Dobu's brilliant dialogue and his delivery. Unlike many other Yakuza-like characters we see in anime, Dobu manages to act calm and collected while sounding genuinely threatening and strong-willed. The way he speaks to Otokawa shows us just how much experience he has being a part of the underworld, being able to go from cracking a joke to suddenly threatening to kill him without the tension ever giving way. For me, he's one of the first gangster-type characters in anime I've seen where his threats and demands actually have a weight to them. His laid-back but serious nature is an absolute breath of fresh air for me, and he heavily carries a lot of the show's most intense moments. Oddtaxi's dialogue feels so unique because of how grounded the dialogue is and how amazing the VA's performances are. Comedic moments have a mature tone but feel so comfy and natural. Darker moments have the perfect amount of suspense without having to rely on typical tropes. And the amount of genuine emotion put into sad moments and plot twists are all what pulls me into the world of Oddtaxi so much more. Before we wrap up this video, I want to quickly go over one more thing. This bonus point may confuse you guys a little. No doubt you'll be thinking, there's no way a single episode makes this show worth watching. And to that I say, au contraire. In this episode, we follow a puma named Tanaka Hajime, a lonely and quiet game developer who's obsessed with playing gacha games. Quickly after being introduced, we begin to learn of his past, where in order to get popular among his classmates, he began to collect rare erasers so that he could show them off. However, this harmless fad slowly turns into an addiction as he tries to get as many rare erasers as he can so people will pay attention to him. From erasers to gacha games, this episode depicts gambling addiction in one of the most heartbreaking ways possible, and it absolutely shouldn't be missed. This episode is an absolute raid of emotions. I went from thinking, who the hell is this guy, to being completely on edge as we see everything in Tanaka's life fall apart. Even if after this video you're still not hooked on Oddtaxi, I super encourage you to at least give episode 4 a watch, as believe it or not, you can actually watch this episode without watching any of the previous episodes. While it connects to the overall plot in the final few minutes, his backstory and his brutal battle with addiction is its own contained story. It made one hell of an impression on me, and my god, prepare yourself, because it'll make one on you too. So, why should you watch Oddtaxi? It's one of the best crime drama anime that I've watched, period. With an insanely interesting world that's full of lovable and realistic characters, a large variety of conflicts that keep you on the edge of your seat, and of course the brilliant brilliant dialogue and amazing voice acting. If you haven't started watching, what are you waiting for? You're absolutely missing out. Head on over to Crunchyroll and start watching today. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go on and give it a like. Until next time, kings and queens, I'll catch you later.
Jook walk, hit them with the juke walk. Jook walk, fuck it up with juke walk. When you feeling a little tipsy, hit the juke walk. Chillin' low, crossing hands, do the juke walk.